All right, so we'll be installing Apache and setting up a couple of websites. So the first step we'll be doing is setting up a single website, which actually takes less than a minute, which is really simple. The second thing we'll be doing is setting up multiple websites on one server. And the final step is we'll be adding SSL support to one of the websites. To add one website is pretty simple. If you're going to add multiple websites, you need something called virtual hosting. And within virtual hosting, there's IP-based hosting, there's name-based hosting, there's even port-based hosting. But for, let's say, IP-based hosting, you have one website, you require one IP address. You're mapping one website to each IP. If you have 10 websites, you need 10 IP addresses. So this doesn't scale very well because you're not going to have hundreds of IP addresses if you have 100 websites. The way that people do this in the most common way is setting up multiple websites under one IP address. However, to do this, you need something called name-based hosting. And for that to function, we need to eventually set up DNS or add them into etc hosts file, which we'll be doing for this demo. So let's get started. First, we have to install Apache. So httpd install. Helps if you can type right. All right, so that's installed. Next, we need to enable and restart it. Enable -- now. Apache takes a while to start up. And if we grep for we can see that the document root where the main website is stored for Apache is under this folder of our. So we'll change into that. And what Apache does is it looks for a file called index.html. So we need to edit that now. And type anything. And that is it. Website 1 has been configured. That is all it takes. Instead of using Firefox to verify that websites are loading though, I'm going to use a tool called curl. So yum install curl. I've already installed it, nothing to do. And what curl does, it's a tool that transfers data from or to a server using different sources. So we'll be using HTTP and eventually HTTPS. So syntax is curl -- so we can see our website is running. So single website setup, super easy. That was step 1. Next step is setting up multiple websites. To do that, we need to make a folder where we're going to store all of these websites or directory. So this is the base directory where the main website gets stored. We're going to make one called vhosts since we're creating virtual hosts to host multiple websites. And within here, we're going to make multiple websites. So created the parent directory for website 3, 1, 2, 3. And we can see that I've created within virtual hosts website 1, website 2, website 3 with their HTML and log folders within there where we'll be storing the required files. So once we've done that, we need to create index files for each of those websites. So as you can see, I've now created an index.html for each of the websites, which within its own HTML folder. Now that we've created those 3 files, we need to edit them. So virtual host website 1, and in here we need to add the following. So the title of the website in the middle, and this line here is the most important. So when we're doing virtual host websites, name-based, when a request comes into the server and all the requests come into the same IP address and to the same port, the way the server decides where to forward that traffic is based on this line here, host website 1. So if someone were to type in http website1.lab, it would get redirected to this site. If they were to type in website3.lab, it gets redirected to the file that contains website3.lab. So that's how it knows how to forward traffic based on that. So now we need to configure all 3 websites. Website 2, change this to 2. Website 3. So we now have 3 websites set up. However, they're set up, but Apache still doesn't know that they exist. So we need to add them into the configuration file and let Apache know that these 3 websites have been created in this folder. So again, we've made a folder, a directory with multiple websites in it. Within each of these, we have 2 folders, an HTML and a log folder. And within each HTML folder, we've created the index file that Apache will read. So we go into settings now. And so within the main configuration for Apache, there is a line that says include conf.d star conf. So essentially in this folder, any file that ends in .conf will be included in the main configuration. So instead of slapping everything into the main configuration file, we can neatly organize it into multiple files. So if you had 20 websites, you don't want all 20 websites configured under one file. You're going to want to have one file per website so that you can troubleshoot them easier. So, all right, I'm going to make a backup of the main configuration file. Copy. And going to go back. Where did I go? Oh. All right. We're in that folder that's going to hold all the separate files. So we're going to make 3 files for each of those websites. So within here, I've now made a configuration file for website 1, website 2, and website 3. Within here, we need to let Apache know that this is a virtual host located at, we could do star, which will change in a sec, on port 80. But because we have 2 IP addresses, we're going to actually use the IP address. So 172.16.40.41. That's my server's IP address. And we need to let Apache know 2 things. The only 2 things we require are the server name, so website1.lab, and the document root where this website is located. So that's under var www virtual host, the file we made, website1.lab HTML, and that's it. We can close this up. Virtual done. So this is telling Apache where it can find website 1 and what the name of it is. It's going to copy this. And we're going to configure website 2 as well. Change this to 2, 2. Configure website 3. 3, 3. All right. So that is out of the way. If we try to use curl now to retrieve the website, it will still not work because we're missing a step. So it's going to try to retrieve website1.lab, but it doesn't know where website1.lab is yet because nothing's resolving that. We haven't set up DNS or etc hosts yet. So name of my VM is test VM, so we'll be adding that to so it should be able to resolve now. So if we go into curl, still not missing. Forgot to restart Apache. Restart Apache. No, restart HTTP. All right. Done. Website 1 is loaded and working. Website 2 is loaded and working. Website 3 is loaded and working. Do a test here as well. Website 1. Website 2. Website 3. I'll make another tab and put website 1. Website 1, website 2, website 3. All functioning. So step 2 is done. Create multiple websites on one server. Now we're going to add SSL support to the final server. All right, so now that we have 3 fully functioning web servers running, websites running, we're going to add SSL support to one of the websites. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new folder where we're going to put our keys in. So we've made the TLS folder, which includes a certificate and a key directory. Next, we need to install OpenSSL and modSSL, which allows Apache to utilize SSL. So we have these installed. I'm going to change into the TLS folder. And we're going to create the 2 keys, the key and the certificate actually. So we'll create the key for the website and the certificate with this full command here. Uh, so the only one of these that matters is the common name. The common name has to match the website that we want SSL enabled on. We need to change the permissions on the certificate and the key so that only root has access. So chmod. We actually have to change the folder as well. So and then the key itself is going to get root only access. All right, so only root has access to the key and the certificate. If we want to compare the key and the certificate, we can run these two commands. And we can see that the output matches. So now that we've installed the keys in our folders, we need to tell the website or website 3 that we're going to be utilizing that key or those keys. All right, so first thing we're going to do to use SSL or HTTPS is we need to change the port to 443. Then we need to add 3 lines. We need to add the wonderful copy pasting from Windows. So this line telling it where the certificate is, this line telling it where the key is that we've just created, and this line saying, yes, please use SSL for website 3. So we're going to save that. Next, we need to edit the main configuration file and let it know that we will be using that. So we're back with our main file. However, it is a mess. It is 350 lines of mess. So we're going to trim that down. And by the way, I have made a shortcut, an alias for Apache that just lets me get into the configuration file by typing Apache. So we're going to use extended grep. So search for the inverse, the opposite of any line starting with a semicolon or any line starting with 0 or more spaces followed by a hash. And what that gives us is a configuration file with none of the comments and just cleaned up a lot. So we'll take that command and we're going to put that into our main config file. We'll redirect the output into the main configuration file. So if we do a word count, and compare the backup to the main config file, we have trimmed it down from 353 lines to 94 lines. So it is much, much cleaner now. Much easier to work with. So once we're in this line, in this file, sorry, we need to make a few changes. So we need to add the server name, which will be our host name. So on this machine, it is test VM. Because we're using SSL, we need to listen on port 443. And because we installed the SSL module, we're going to let it know to use that as well as a couple of other modules. So copy pasting from Windows just does not work well. There we go. All right, so we're letting it know to utilize all of these modules. They're like add-ons, so to say. So we're using the SSL module, we're using an extended logging module, authentication, and a whole bunch of extra stuff. So what that is all these modules are located in here. And we're just telling it to utilize some of these. So we told it to use the SSL module, which we actually installed when we installed OpenSSL as well, and a couple of other these modules. They're kind of like add-ons. We're just giving the website more functionality. And now that we have configured our main file, we need to make sure we have no syntax errors. So http -t, and we can see that the syntax comes back okay. The other one we can run is Apache CTL, Apache control -t, and no errors, comes back clean. So our config file is good to go. Now we need to restart Apache. We might get an error. And if you get this error here, address already in use, could not bind to port 443, we need to go in here. And this file is being used right now, holding up port 443. So we're going to move that file. As you've seen, I've already done this once in a previous test run. And it's just going to override. And if we restart now, it's going to work. So the restart went through, no errors. And we have now configured SSL access. So HTTPS. Actually, no, we're using the URL website3.lab. And HTTPS is now configured. Go to advanced, accept the risk, and website 3 is now utilizing SSL. We probably should have edited that. Let's change that. Vim var virtual host website 3. See if that goes through. There we go. All right. SSL is now up and running. And that is pretty much it. We have done all three steps. We have configured the single website. We have configured multiple sites on one server, and we have enabled SSL. Cheers. Enjoy.